you even had communicated with her, so.
Yeah, I
I
wonder
think
too, that I know that there's just legislation that's been passed for summer school funding and early childhood funding, but the early childhood funding seems to be through Head Start.
right.
So I don't know enough about Head Start. I know Avelia knows about Head Start. But I wonder if maybe there might be something out there. Um,
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
continuing to explore any and all avenues. I know that Head Start is, well, so is ESSER funds, but it's federally
Right.
funded Head Start.
We got one more board member we're waiting on here. Thad won't be here tonight. Julia will be late. So we can get rocking and rolling there. Rob and I see her queuing in to let us know we're on YouTube already.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still in my previous board meeting. I haven't quite finished. I'm so sorry.
No problem. It's okay. Looks like
Mark,
we have
you're ready
Emily
to,
coming in.
yeah, whenever you are ready. Thanks.
All right. And we'll go ahead and start. Thank you. All right, welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the MCS Board of Directors. It's Tuesday, March 12th, 2024, 5:30 p.m. via Zoom. Apologies, I do have a cold that I've been battling for a few days, so and just you'll hear me hacking occasionally, unfortunately. There was a updated agenda sent out, so sorry, I don't want to jump ahead. I didn't receive any pre-submitted public comments. That's for item number 2 there. Number 3, I sent out an updated agenda prior to this meeting, and I'll post that to the screen here. And I actually have one more update that I didn't realize. So we do not have a consent agenda this month from our partners working on our financial side. We'll have to get back to that next month. So what I ask is that we approve the changes to the agenda, also recognizing the consent agenda will be moved to next month. So we'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as sent out minus item number 4, the consent agenda. Can I get a second? And I can't, thank you, Emily. All those in favor?
can we?
Go ahead, Marie.
I'm so Emily second, and then who is present? I can't see everyone.
Yeah, Emily, McKenna, yourself, and myself, as far as board members go.
Okay, thank you.
And then we'll have Julia. She'll be signing on here shortly. Thad will be absent tonight. Avelia is also signing on, but she may have to have her video off for a bit.
Okay.
Okay. So Emily seconded that. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed, please voice your opposition. Motion passes. That brings us to item number 5, which is the treasurer's report, which is for Avelia. And let me just check in with her real quick here. Avelia, when you're ready, do you want me to read the update from partners, or would you like to read it?
You can go ahead and read it, Dan.
Okay. Doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure I'm not if you've got a lot going on there, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank
Okay.
you, Dan.
Yeah. All right, so we have lots of work going on in the background, and in regards to our financials, our W-2s, which many employees know that their W-2s are wrong, and I think not enough know they're actually wrong. So I believe 16 were found to be needing corrections. And so 1 second, let me pull this up. We'll share my screen again. All right. So this is sent over from Summer. Veronica, I'm going to read it just so everyone can hear, but you also have it on screen to see. So this is our update. from yesterday. Basically, Veronica and Summer are working on all of our accounts deliverable, accounts payable, W-2 corrections. They've also decided to go back through and check all payroll paychecks for 2023 to make sure that they were correct. So we'll get to that coming down here. In the interim coverage and coordination, Veronica is covering payroll and payables until business manager is hired. Several adjustments were needed to the February payroll that was processed immediately after, first, the prior business manager's last day, and two, we had a candidate highlighted for the business manager's position who ended up backing out. With board treasurer's help, we did the best we possibly could with the information we had. Any issues have been resolved as quickly as possible, and we believe all have been resolved. In the meantime, multiple problems were identified with IRS tax forms, W-2s that were issued in January. At the board chair and treasurer's request, Veronica reviewed all forms that had been issued and found a total of 16 forms that needed to be corrected, filed, and provided to employees. We expect the corrections to be completed this week. So for the MTA, and for Matt and Jen, please let your staff know that they should expect that this week. That was Veronica's goal, was by the end of the week this week. So we'll have updated W-2s. People will be able to file taxes. Please also just reach out and don't have them file yet, because I don't want them to file something that's wrong and then have their taxes be wrong. Yes, Marielle.
So thanks for letting me ask a question. I had reached out and sent out an email to people and then sent another one out and just said, please make sure you check. And I did get back to you on a few of them. But I think a lot of people don't realize that their W-2s were incorrect.
Yes.
So I'm concerned that they may have already filed.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's possible to get a list to be able to speak to those people individually, or if they just get surprised when they get a new one.
So I think that getting a list should be feasible. Veronica's in the business manager's office.
Yes, I
So
talked
we
to
could
today.
check in and just, maybe coordinate a time so that she's not bombarded with people.
Right.
Say, hey, or wait till the end of the week until she has it all done, and we'll know, and then she can, what is it? Just Tuesday.
Yeah.
I guess that would be
And
waiting too long if people are getting their taxes done. So
Yeah, I mean, we were
Yeah.
ready to file when we found it,
Right.
so just want to make sure that people are aware. So wondering if it's possible to have her let me know, and Lisa and I can reach out to those people.
Yeah, I'll have
Yeah.
her send an email.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And
Go ahead.
very quickly, she does have a list with all the names and the W-2s.
Mhm.
So that even just going into her office, maybe she has that.
Okay, I thought she must.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
Absolutely.
for making that simpler. So they're going to review all forms that have been issued and found the 16 forms that need to be corrected. They'll be finished this week. In regards to that 2023 payroll recalculation, based on their other known issues, they'll be performing a full review and calculation of all employees' paychecks for all of 23. This includes the calculation of wages, leaves, taxes, benefits, and other withholdings. The results of the review will be reported to the board, and corrections will be processed as quickly and reasonably as possible. We understand and appreciate the board's prioritization of its employees, and that steps are being taken to make things right. In regards to the 2021-22 reconciliation, preparation for QuickBooks transition, and the fiscal year 22-23 audit, Summer reconciled the accounting system to the audited financial report. The expectation upon starting, based on discussions with prior business manager and the former auditor, was that the system was up to date except for entries related to the conversion of the school from cash basis to modified accrual. We found that in addition to posting conversion entries from the auditor, additional reconciliation and entries were needed for issues identified by the auditors and to correct other balances from fiscal year 21-22 and prior fiscal years. The transition to QuickBooks Online is on hold given the necessary prioritization of the two items above. We expect to return our focus to the transition once the payroll recalculation is completed and Veronica has adequate capacity. Summer has begun the review of accounting records for fiscal year 22-23. Corrections have been made to the beginning balances, including adjustments to the beginning cash basis balance sheet. Procedures will continue over the next several weeks. Coordination with the school's audit firm will occur when the accounting records are closer to being auditable. Fiscal year 23-24 recovery will be scheduled upon completion of QuickBooks transition and the 22-23 completion. And her other updates are she'd like to note that Veronica and I, Summer, are truly enjoying working in partnership with the board chair and board treasurer. We feel good about the progress that is being made, even with the additional work to cover a portion of the business manager's tasks. Sincerely, Summer Sears. So we're very thankful for the work that they're doing, the help that they're providing us. It's really a lifeline in this for us, just to make sure that we keep on the right path moving forward and fix any mistakes that they find going forward. And for example, the W-2s and any other financial mistakes, so that we can be prepared for the audit that we do every year. Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you to everyone who's put energy into that already. It's really good to hear that some of the things are getting checked off, and that we've got a good path forward. Dan, can you forward or share that update with the rest of the board members?
Certainly, yes, I will. Sorry, I didn't get it out in the packet today.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the MTA report. Item number 6.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
So I will read some of the reports that I have, and then Lisa will follow up with the rest. From Fern and Billy, primaries had a great time playing instruments with the special musical guests that came a couple weeks ago. They also celebrated the 100th day with games and counting and special 100 snacks. Sarah Grace reports that 4th and 5th grade is wrapping up the Secrets program with the Discovery Center. Students have learned all about ecosystems, cycles, and organisms, and they'll take a field trip in May to Mount Hood to explore the information that they have learned. They're starting a new science unit on clean energy at the end of March. This unit is sponsored by the Bonneville Environmental Foundation. They have awarded $2,000 to spend on cleaning energy supplies for 4 or 5 students. Students will learn all about renewable wind, water, and solar power through various activities. Kate Nichols reports that she borrowed bridge building sets from Gorge Hub for 2 months, and they have been creating closed circuits with light bulbs and really enjoying that hands-on activity. And Melina Hoke reports that she is super, I'm going to add duper, excited to move on Friday. And the work day for the teachers. Yeah, woo! And she says that it looks like there is a team that will be hauling over all the heavy stuff, and that has been organized by Mr. Foster and his crew. She said it's a pretty big move, and she's quite a pack rat, so she thinks that there's going to take most of the day on Friday, and she would really appreciate if anyone else is available to help unpack a little bit and reorganize, and once the heavy lifting is done. So I know at one point the board had said that they would be happy to come over and help out if possible. So she'll be there probably pretty much the whole day on Friday. Tag Lisa.
Right. Okay, I wasn't sure. I have a report from Margaret Elkin, our ESL teacher. Margaret finished up with the yearly ELPA, which is the English Language Proficiency Tests today. Yay. Now students and teacher must patiently await the results, but fingers are crossed that more of our English language learners have the academic English skills they need to be successful accessing grade level material. Wahoo, she says. I just wanted to give a report on behalf of Lisa Stevenson, our social emotional learning specialist and teacher. She continues to work one-on-one with students, and her ability to meet with and work with these students is greatly appreciated, to say the least. And we are truly grateful for her to be able to do that. For 2nd and 3rd grade, we are working on writing and doing research on biographies. We kind of have a carryover of learning about Black History Month, so we're going to be continuing that work. So that's kind of nice. The kids are learning how to do research on the computers and finding different sources and putting that down onto a hard copy. In reading, we're working on comprehension strategies, kind of tuning into what do good readers do to understand what they're reading. We're working on inferring, questioning, predicting, and visualization. In math, I know that we are working on fractions for 3rd grade. Mary Ellen, I apologize for not time. Yes, time. Learning till time.
We just figured out, we just finished a unit on geometry and shapes, and now we're into time.
Yeah. And then the MTA continues to meet with our executive director once a month and also with our members once a month and attend the D21 union meetings.
Once a month.
Once a month. Any questions?
Thank you for
Well,
running a report. It's awesome to always hear what's going on in the classrooms, you know.
thank you.
We're engaged as board members, but we don't always know what's happening, you know, outside of our own kids' class. So it's nice to hear all the updates. All right, with no further questions, that brings us to item number 7, which is our ED search update and next steps. Just out of being conscientious for our candidate, we haven't named them publicly yet because we want to give them time to talk with their own employees, fellow employees, and family and whatnot first. So we have extended a contract offer. Julia has worked with our lawyers through to get a contract finalized, initial contract, and so that was extended to our candidate today and being reviewed. And so we'll hear back on that. Emily and I will be available if there's any negotiation needed. We'll be available to help her with that. So we'll have more soon, hopefully. We have one local news agency that's been eager to have a story to put out there, and so he's luckily willing to be on hold until I believe Friday. So it took a bit just to keep everything quiet for a while so we can make sure all the due diligence is done. So we're working on that, but we'll have more information really soon. Item number 8 is the infrastructure update, including a DOE grant. And Brent sent over an email today. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to read this one because it's got a bunch of other stuff on it. From Brent Foster. Hi, all. I wanted to give a quick project update. For the electrical service upgrade, at long last, the electrical service upgrade we need for the new HVAC system has started. Land Electric, working under Piper Mechanical, has already started installing the new electrical boxes on the outside of the building, and in the next month, Pacific Power will be removing 2 existing power poles on the school side of the road and installing a new power pole near the northwest corner of the parking lot. Tito with Land Electric has a plan in place with Pacific Power to avoid any significant power outages and will do the circuit switchovers after school hours or on weekends. Work should be done by April 1st, but I won't be surprised if it's closer to April 15th. This is an ESSER 3 funded project given it's part of the HVAC work, but making sure everything gets properly documented under ESSER is outside of its scope. But with Alyssa gone, I do want to be sure all of ESSER boxes get checked, including making sure that we can redirect the remainder of ESSER 3 funds after the service upgrade gets allocated for other ESSER qualified projects funded by the board through reserve funds, like the ADA lift, modular move, etc. So consistent with the board's past decision, those reserve funds can instead get used to complete the HVAC and related projects under the DOE grant. And that's something we're well aware of, and Summer and Veronica are also cursorily aware of the needs for those ESSER funds to get allocated. So after they're done dealing with the current needs with W2 and other stuff, they'll focus on some of those other things. On the DOE grant, he says, big thanks to Dan. We have submitted all documents. I would say mostly it's been Brent's work, and I've been there to help look over things and sign things when necessary. But at this point in DOE, with the DOE, we have final grant approval. So we're just waiting for things to work through the federal process. That said, timing wise, we need to get RFPs out soon for the project work, or we could have a hard time getting it done over summer. Brent says he's drafting RFPs for the solar work, lighting upgrade, and installation, weatherproofing, and EV chargers, and hope to get them out in the next 10 days. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. So again, Brent is doing tons of work for our school. We see that he's integral in getting the classroom set up in the middle school area there, and he's, it's just as we've come to see, he just spends so much of his time volunteering. It's much appreciated. So he's not here tonight, but thank you, Brent. Does anyone have any questions about all that work that I just talked about? I'm sure you've seen the work going on outside the school right now, the power work on the south side. Yeah. That was number 8. Number 9 is MCS transportation services. And this is just a discussion and information that Marie has for us. One of the constant topics we're talking about is start times and busing. And so Marie is doing some research to figure out all the details involved with that. Thank you, Marie.
Hi, everyone. I sent out some preliminary questions to the Director of Transportation of D21, who was kind enough to get back to me with answers. So this is really just to inform the landscape of, how many students are riding the bus and how much it's costing MCS, or how much MCS is being billed for transportation by the sponsoring district. So I'll just go through the questions and answers. Does that sound good?
I can post the email to my screen if you'd like me to.
Oh yeah,
Whatever you prefer.
sure, yeah.
Okay.
Marie, were you going to read the answers to the survey or to the questions you emailed out earlier?
The questions I emailed out.
Okay, perfect. No, because I compiled some simpler stuff for the survey.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing the replies to that survey. So just so folks are aware, North Wasco School District provides transportation for elementary students who live more than a mile away from their school of residence, and to secondary students who live more than 1.5 miles away. And there are currently 2 bus routes. There's bus route 16 and 19. 16 brings children to school in the morning and takes them home in the afternoon. And then Route 19 takes children home in the afternoon. And Route 16 starts in the Dalles, goes over 7 Mile Hill, comes down, goes into Mosier, and then goes to Mosier MCS. And it does the reverse in the afternoon. And then Route 19 goes from the Dalles. However, it takes the highway to Mosier Community School. And then, it only takes kids, from my understanding, in the afternoon from Mosier School onto the highway back to the Dalles. And currently, there are an average of 39 kids riding the number 16 morning bus, and then an average of 58 taking that number 16 bus home at the end of school. And then there are an average of about 23 kids taking Route 19, the number 19 bus home in the afternoon. And I also learned that Mosier, most of the children attending MCS live in the Dalles. 80 students have their home address listed in the Dalles. 65 have their residence listed in Mosier, and 3 are listed in Hood River. The district bills $6.04 per mile. And in February, the transportation for Mosier students or MCS students was about 1,379. So I did a quick calculation, if you multiply that by $6.04, it's $8,329.16. And then you want to get kind of a ballpark figure of how much is being billed for transportation for MCS students over the course of 10 months. It's probably roughly going to be around more or less $83,000. And then I asked a question of how many students can the two buses serve, and one bus can accommodate 52 students. And then I asked what were some of the challenges facing the D21 transportation department, and Mrs. Caseberg said that lack of substitute driving staff was one of their greatest challenges. So if you know anybody who would like to be a bus driver, it sounds like there's opportunity in the D21 transportation department. So that is just a preliminary report, just to kind of give everyone an idea of how many kids are riding the bus. And also I found it really interesting to learn about where the kids attending MCS are living. So if anyone has any questions.
I wondered about when I saw the cost per mile, when we were in our meeting with Kara Flath and Dr. Bernal, I remember them saying something about 30% is what we would be required to cover. So I wonder how that plays into that number in the long term. I'd be interested to find out more. But thank you for getting all that information. It's interesting to see where everybody's coming from.
Yeah, I think that the $6.04 is how much it's costing. And then, yeah, I do remember that as well. So
I was wondering, Maria, I was sort of wondering, I think in the same as Dan, because they would of course be reimbursed D21 by the mile. So the percentage, I'm not quite sure how it all breaks down, but sure good to see the info.
I'm curious,
Go ahead,
sorry,
McKenna.
about that Route 16 PM. If we're averaging 58 students and the bus is only supposed to have 52 on it, is that an accurate number, or is that just because there's 3 butts to a seat?
You know, that's a good question. I can ask. I would imagine that sometimes kids have friends that go home with them after school for a play date, or you know, so maybe at times the number exceeds, but I'll ask her and get back to you about that.
Thanks.
I have a question, Marie, and maybe you said this. Is Route 19 that kind of late bus? Or is that separate and not included here?
I believe you know, I have to ask if that's the late bus or not.
Okay.
I think there's 2 buses that leave. Actually, Matt, could you answer that question? Is there a 16 bus and a 19 bus at 2:15?
I believe so,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Not,
But we do have a late bus that leaves daily as well.
Yes, at 10 minutes to 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
and that number looks like it would be connected to the late bus.
Yeah. And we have more kids, I guess, going home, riding the bus home than coming to school.
Yeah, it may be that the 58, it reflects the 2:15 departure of Route 16 and the 10 to 4 departure of Route 16. So I'll inquire.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Avelia.
I also noticed that it says 2 per seat, and I think on some cases you can't put 3 children in 1 seat, so that's maybe making up for the other seats. And I'm sure it's just a few days where the bus is completely full.
Go ahead, Julia.
I find it interesting that the ridership is so much higher in the afternoon than in the morning, and I think that's a reflection of how early the morning bus leaves, is my guess. I'm making a guess. But I would be really curious, are we going to also hear the results of the survey about start time? Are we talking about that today? Because the next iteration of this conversation that would be really interesting to me is figuring out what's possible as far as timing of the buses with current routes without increasing cost. Or with really minimal increases to cost. Like, you know, right now we run before the Dows. Could we run after the Dows? Like, what would that look like? Or same time as them, and then how much more would that cost us? Those sorts of things. But I want to sort of hear about the survey too, if we have that info.
Okay, good points. Go ahead, Avelia.
Could we also maybe get some numbers on I hate to put it this way, but I myself am guilty of it. Of those who children that are maybe signed up for the bus and have tardiness counts, I think that would also be very I think it would be just data that would help us see how much it's affecting families or if that has any contrast. I know there's other factors into it, but just something maybe to think about.
Yeah, Avelia, to clarify. Clarify. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're saying the same. I just want more clarity on what you're saying. Like, are they tardy from riding the bus? Are they absent because they're tired from having to get up to go to school so early? I just want more information on what you're asking, Avelia.
Yeah, I think what I'm asking is more of just work schedules and trying to get children to school because it's so early, yet it's too early to get them on the bus. So maybe it's survey question more on how that commute, since we have 80 children that are coming from the Dells, for example, and how that start time, I don't know. I don't even know how to word it, but I'm just curious, maybe something to think about.
Yeah, and were you saying also that if you're signed up for the bus, but maybe you don't use it because it's so early that you just end up driving your kids anyway? Is that part of it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested to see. I see what you're saying. So figuring out what the total number of students that are actually signed up with the amount that actually consistently use it based on the start times. And I like look at just the schedule change we just had, the spring forward or whatever. It's like it's extremely hard to get up that early to come to school, and the kids are extremely tired. You know, it's in their mind getting up at 4. Go ahead, Marie.
Yeah, I'd be happy to ask Mrs. Caseberg that as well, because she talks with the drivers, and the drivers are aware of when, you know, there are kids that usually get on that don't get on. So Avelia, I think that's a great question. I think we could probably get more information from the transportation department.
I also wonder about the demographics of the ridership and whether that's info we can get.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what all they track, but it'd be interesting to find out as much information as we possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder if it's like the majority of our Latino students are riding the bus, so are disproportionately impacted by the early start time, which has been sort of my suspicion, but I don't know.
Yeah, we need to find more out on that.
I'm not sure if D21 could give us that info, but I would certainly worth asking.
Do we have results from the survey to look at?
Jen's going to talk to that, Emily.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any more questions on the bus? I know it's hot topic that we're all really passionate about. And I love seeing the engagement on it. But if there's no more questions, I'll move to the next topic.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, please send them my way and I'd be happy to continue gathering information. Or feel free to reach out directly to Lisa Caseberg at North Wasco.
I think at some point it might make sense. We'll see what the survey says, to sort of form a transportation committee and then also invite public input and parents that may be interested in the way that we've done committees in the past, that make sure we have those meetings noticed, and have a board member that's kind of in the lead of that. But if we decide to move forward with this, I think there is this background foundational, like ground layer of information first, but that's just something to keep in mind as a possible way to and I would encourage folks in the public, parents, staff, if you have opinions on this, like, you can write the board a public comment. We'd be happy to read it and share it and take it into consideration. And also, if you'd be interested in being part of a committee that talks about transportation and school start times, let us know. And if there's critical mass, then we'll make such a committee, perhaps.
Thank you, Julia. Well stated.
Okay.
Go ahead, Emily.
Maybe I have one more question, because it seems like we're on to a different topic and Jen's going to give the results later on in the meeting. Am I getting that right now? Okay. So I do have one more question.
Well, I mean, we can, if you want to go out of order, we can do that. It's up to Matt. It's item number 10 is next, which is executive director report, but the assistant principal report is in that. So if you want to go out and just do that now, it's fine.
That's totally fine with me. If Jen's.
Yep. Do you want me to do that? I have a little presentation. It's pretty simple, but I'm happy to share that.
That'd be great.
Okay. There we go. All right, hang on 1 second. Why is it not working? Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. It's really, really simple. It's just to be able for you guys to see the numbers. So 44 families responded. Out of the 44 families, the preferred start time was 25 of them preferred a start time of 7:30. The next highest would be 8, and then 8:30, we only had 3 or 2. But I still feel like 44 is not a huge amount of families that actually answered the survey. Happy with the start time. They did it was a scale of 1 to 10, 1 not happy, 10 very happy. The highest percentage of families were 17 were very happy. And other than that, the numbers were kind of all over the place. Preferred end time, 20 out of the 44 said 2:10. And then the next highest was 3, and then 3:30, 4, and 4:30 were not really popular. Reason for not taking the bus, 13, which is significant, said it's too early. Only 1 said it's not safe. And 11 said it doesn't come to my house. And I have a feeling a good portion of those were walkers as well. How they get to school, personal car is 28. Bus is 10, 6 walk. I would love to know how many of them actually get home from school. That was not a question, because I'd love to know what is the proportion of families that drive their kids to school compared to the portion that do take the bus home. I think that would also be helpful information. Where do they live? 22 of the 44 individuals who answered it live in Mosier, 21 were in the Dalles, and 1 was other. And then I started compiling these. I didn't get to finish, but there's lots of other feedback, and I'm wondering if the board would like me to just compile this into a document and share this additional feedback with you. but one was having more after school programs. They're fine with the start time. The next one's pretty long. A start time anywhere between 8 and 8:30. They said that their kids are early risers. It's not a huge issue for them, but the early start doesn't support a healthy morning schedule in their family, or times when they need to sleep in a little or need extra time to wake up. The end time is a tough answer because ideally we would have consistent after school programs that would better support daytime working parent hours, but I wouldn't want the kids going to school really late or just hanging out with unstructured time for a couple hours. We're spoiled because we have a parent in town to help with after school care. I'd love for them to have other learning opportunities after school, even if that meant a paid program. We don't take the bus since we're living in town currently. Next year, it will be a mix of personal car and walking. We're not far enough out of town that the bus makes sense. We have 2 students at MCS. One rides the bus on only Wednesdays. Those mornings begin miserably early. Next year, we would hope to let both girls ride the bus. However, the time is just way too early for our youngest. We get in bed at 6:30 to read books, so it's not as if we aren't already prioritizing. I'm going to switch gears because I didn't get to put the rest of those answers in, but give me 1 second. I'm just going to go somewhere else. Give me 1 second. All right. Can you guys see the spreadsheet now?
No, I think you've got you might be able to toggle back and forth, but we still see kind of the non-presentation mode of your.
Okay, give me 1 second. Yeah, I'm wondering. All right, I'm going to read it to you. All right, so this one, sorry. I have a high schooler, so the start time works for us. However, I always try to have my Mosier kids do an extra school club for the late bus. It would be nice to have a later start and end time. It seems like it would be easier for kids to learn if they weren't tired in the morning. Matching the natural light would be better. Thanks for asking. I really appreciate the additional bus this year provided for students who live in the Dalles, so they're not traveling over 7 miles. However, the behavior issues I hear about on the bus, I would rather not have my kids deal with that. Mind you, where are we? This is no fault of the bus driver, as they are just bus drivers. Let me just go. The start time allows me to get to work on time. The bus pickup and drop off in the Dalles just made for too long of a day, so we find a way to drop off and pick up our kids. It's complete BS that I live in Mosier and my kid can't even ride the bus because the bus doesn't go that route. There are multiple kids on our route that would take the bus, but you guys won't offer it. Hang on. I just got to move a couple things. It's in the way. I went to school at Mosier myself, and the way it was, hold on, sorry. Oh, here we go. I went to school at Mosier myself, and the way it has become now is absolutely disgusting. I rode the bus as a child and lived in Mosier. I don't see what the problem is now. It's absolute BS. I know my kids that could genuinely use rides because they struggle and the kids just don't get up, get going. They don't have a ride. They live in Mosier, but not close enough to walk. So that was a frustrated parent. Though they don't ride the bus in the morning, they usually do in the afternoon. We appreciate the early release from school. Our kids take the school bus home, but not to school. I hope the school hours stay as they are. We are glad to have bus transportation available to us. It works well for our family, having the option, especially getting home from school. Most mornings I drive the kids to school so they can sleep more. We have no issues. I am pleased with everything. The stress of getting our child to school on time makes our morning terrible. It's an awful way to start the day and negatively affects my relationship with my son and our family in general. It feels cruel to wake him up so early. My son takes the bus to the Dalles after school. My experience has been great. The bus arrives at a predicted time and the bus driver is very friendly and understanding. 7:30 is very early, especially in the winter. Kids need a lot of sleep, and having to wake up for school, even with a 7 bedtime, is not awesome. The 7:30 to 2:15 timing is also significantly out of sync with the average adult work schedule. Our 2 MCS attending kids are dropped off in the mornings, but do ride the bus to Watonka after school most days. We appreciate having that option in the afternoons, but the morning pickup bus would require us to wake up. Wait 1 second. So early at 5:15, which is too early. Also wanted to mention that we are thrilled Mr. J is back driving the bus. 7:30 is a bit early, but 9 is too late. My ideal is a start of 8:30, ending school 2:40, 3:10. I think everything is great. So that is the end of that.
Jen, could you go back up to the, or just
Sorry,
tell,
go ahead.
We had 28 families who drove personal cars, and then we had, I think it was 10 or 11 who walk. And what was the other number for folks riding
It was
the bus?
six that walk. Give me 1 second. 6 walk, 28 personal cars, but this is to get to school, and 10 ride the bus out of the 44.
How do we get, how do we get more people to fill out this survey? I would love to get a better sample size. This is really helpful, but it's just, you're right, it's a small group, and I wonder how we could just encourage folks I'm
kind of wondering if we were to send out send one paper, one home. I'm just kind of brainstorming to families, do it not just one through one means, but maybe more than one. And, just kind of ask people only fill out one of these just to see if we get other families that might fill something out that goes home and then just send it back to school, just as a thought.
Hey, I have an idea. Well,
Yes.
It's not my idea. So at the last training that we had, the OSBA training, we had some conversation about how many folks respond, because an N of 44 is pretty good compared to what we saw for the survey response for the ED.
Yeah, I agree.
So one of the things that we talked about was, it doesn't work for all families to respond to a survey, whether it's in SurveyMonkey or paper backpack, send home thing.
Okay.
We were talking about at that training, how powerful it is to have personal outreach to families.
Yeah.
And the board members who were there talked about, opportunities for us as board members to kind of divide up the families and have us all reach out personally, make a phone call to each and every one of the families in the school. We didn't talk about it in regards to the transportation, but this could be an opportunity for us to make those contacts with folks and get their personal input on start time, transportation, things like that. Takes a little bit of time and work, but it also is a great opportunity to connect with folks.
Yeah, and I think prepping it with a few questions. So if we call up, it's like, okay, how's the start time for you? How's the busing? Do you use the busing? How do you get to school? Is there changes? Like that way we could kind of answer a lot of the questions that we have. Add in after school programs as well. Thank you, Emily. Go ahead, Marie.
Yeah, Jen, thanks for sharing this survey. And I wonder if you might be able to send us the survey. I would like to digest those numbers some more.
Yeah.
And
do you want the presentation? Do you have the actual?
You just send me the presentation.
Okay, absolutely. And I'm gonna actually add all the rest of the comments on there so you guys have all those.
Perfect.
Is that good? Okay.
And also, want to piggyback on what Emily is saying about reaching out via telephone. And I think also Tuesday folder might be nice if we could send that out and see if we might get more of a response.
Julia, you had your hand up.
I was gonna say that, well, I was thinking about maybe we as some board members could volunteer to help with those phone calls, but I also think it's a really nice opportunity for you, Jen, or someone at the school to connect with parents. So I don't know what you all would prefer, but I'll just put that out there. It is labor intensive to make a lot of phone calls, and if there's a way we can be supportive, let us.
Yeah, because I'm wondering too, even if we split it up, like if we had Margaret call the Spanish speaking families, I took some, we can even have Dawn take some and Matt, like we can break it up. That's totally up to you guys.
Does anyone else have any concerns or comments about just how we would break that up? I feel like it's the more people involved, the better, because it's a lot of work to call. It's going to take a lot of time. I think about 150 plus students. So go ahead, Marie.
Yeah, it's gonna be some effort on the back end too, because we're gonna have to process all the data. So I think we'll have to really put our heads together to come up with the most concise questions, or really identify the best questions, so that we, when we are making calls, hopefully it can be like a 15 to 20 minute call. But I'd be happy to take a list of 10, I don't know, I think we've got 150 kids. So if or maybe if 10 of us take 15, I don't know, or more, if more folks want to make calls, and you can make that
in mind. I mean, keep in mind that there's a lot of these kids. Yeah, there's 150 kids, but they have siblings at the school, so it's really not that. I mean, that's a pretty decent amount of survey respondents. So,
Yeah, how many families do we have at the school?
Don't know that. That's a good point.
Yeah, if you give me a moment, I could probably have that answer before the end of this meeting. And the other thing, if we break up the families and have several people calling, I can easily create a spreadsheet that's shared with all the individuals calling, and we all put our answers in one spreadsheet, and then it's so much easier to compile like what I just did with all the answers.
Yeah, just use a Google Doc.
Yep. Or I would actually put it into Google spreadsheets, so then I can just get all the data, and just it's so much easier for me to organize it then.
Good ideas. Any other questions or comments regarding the topic? Okay, I'll move it to our next. That brings us to we're still in this, but it's item number 10, which is the executive director report. Matt, would you like me to share my screen for your?
Yeah, if you would like to, Dan.
All right.
Okay, sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
Just to close the loop on the last one. So it sounds like we've got a number of people who are willing to help. We'll get an estimate of how many families there are at the school, and then kind of whoever wants to make calls can help make those calls. We'll get a spreadsheet. Jen can help us pull that together. It seems like there's a couple of different things that we'd want to have questions on. So maybe I'm willing to help pull together some draft of a couple of questions and then pass it along to somebody else who might want to put some input. Anybody want to help develop questions? At least a first draft?
Yeah, I'm happy to be a part of that team if you want to send the email out.
Okay, great. And then we can, Jen.
I'm just wondering if for consistency, include the questions that we've already asked? Because we have some good data now, unless I mean, I don't know, do you want to completely change the survey?
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I think there's some things we definitely should add to it, but just for consistency's sake, and when we do make the phone calls, we can kind of let the family know this is a follow-up to the survey that was sent out. So if you've already answered it, just let me know and we'll just ask them the new questions or.
Okay. Yeah, that's smart.
But you don't mean the same busing questions, do you, Jen?
I thought that's what
I just
this
mean
was-
you'd skew the survey if you sent it to the same people, the same questions. Other questions, yeah, but
No.
No,
So
it's-
what I'm saying is use the same questions because only 44 people answered, but there's some additional ones that we want to ask. So when, like, if I'm making the phone call and I call you, I would explain to you, we're following up to the transportation survey that was previous sent out. And just find out, did you happen to complete that survey? If you say yes, I'll say, okay, do you mind answering just a couple more questions?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so then maybe Jen, we can brainstorm the kind of follow-up questions that we might want to add and then share those
Yeah.
with folks.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Avelia, you had your hand up.
Yes, I'm happy to translate that survey and also make phone calls in Spanish.
Thank you. All right, give me a second, Matt, and I'll pull up your report here.
and I'm not able to see the agenda right now, Dan, which is fine, but if something comes up that I miss, just interrupt.
I can share the agenda first, so you can just look down it if you want, and then share your presentation.
Yeah,
so you have
Maybe
that.
if you could just flash it up there. And
Okay, here's the agenda.
yeah,
So we are.
is on the calendar update. We might want that might need to be on the spot approved by you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
feel free to interrupt there.
Okay.
And then the wellness thing could be the same thing. That would be more information for people to look at for a month or.
Okay.
Actually, there's 3 things in a row there. So I'll hit real quickly, try to go through this report because I know we're going a little bit and it takes a lot. What a great group of people everyone is at all levels in the system. I was going to share one little thing at a different school that I noticed in the last 10 years was not only were there a bank, and Jen and I have talked about this for kids more, they have their Chromebooks, but some schools, when you enter, there's a bank of computers for parents. And frankly, the parents are in the building, I don't know, but probably 90% of our kids, their parents hit the door occasionally, one of them. And so you could have a visual of any survey, this survey you're talking about or future surveys, and you visually make it where they're drawn into it. They spend 5 minutes on the computer. Maybe you have to help them, but they do the survey right on the spot at the main entrance. But it just might be something to think about. This group of people is amazing. I was going to say, it seems to me, Jen, we've had a lot of sickness, not only the kids, but the staff over the last month or so. Back on the 4th and 5th, as I emailed out, we roughly had 33% of our staff missing, but we all pulled together, and it sort of showed me that the MCS can-do spirit, which I think is very promising for you guys' future. Read Across America was a huge success. The goal was $4,000. They got 4,300 something. And then I'm not sure, each teacher or several teachers received a $223 that they can use. So that was really impressive. I have a bunch of pictures that at the end of the year, I'm just going to go through some picture slides of the whole year. Workday is this Friday. It would be a great time for teachers to really focus on their grades, and Jen and I, I'm sure, will be catching up with some things too. For example, potentially talking with folks through their different evaluations and observations if they have the time. I still want to do another ED coffee or so, really to try to facilitate an interest for the next person as we head into the spring, so that a facility committee, a wellness committee could be basically there, ready to go. Community members, staff. A newsletter's coming out next week. Jen and I, there'll be info in there she will be sharing regarding the testing that's about to start, state testing. Open enrollment also next week. The packets went out today. We did have a new student who came today, a sixth grader. So we are at that, we're at 150 today. 10 still pre-K. And we do have, I'll jump back to the calendar if you want, Dan. Lucille Begay will be at the school on April 12th. She's going to be in the classrooms in full regalia for at least 90 minutes. And then we have her scheduled for May 23rd, 1 to 2 p.m. assembly. And we're looking forward to her coming back. So you have the 24-25 calendar. You facilitate that, Dan, however you want to.
I can share it to the screen if you'd like. Okay.
Everyone has basically vetted this as far as a process. Of course, the snow days, we haven't added any snow days back yet. I don't know that we will. The Dalles has a high school, so they're going to have more days already in their system. But that is the proposed calendar for you guys' consideration now.
We have an idea of what without the other calendar in front of us, what the changes were between this calendar that we're adopting that aligns with D21 and the last calendar?
It seems like there were more professional development type stuff. Do you recall that, Jen? She's muted.
Do you mean from this year to next year?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, each year, so it goes back and forth between there's one less like every other year. So next year, I wish I had, can you scroll down, Dan, please? So is this is the districts?
It's ours next year, I believe. And we have
Yeah, that's ours.
I see here we have a all-day professional day. We go down to 7 from 8.
Yeah, so it goes 8, 7, 8, 7. I'm not sure why, but it just consistently changes 8, 7, 8, 7. I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to it. We this year said, let's just follow this right now, how it's been going.
Okay.
Love this. It's so much easier to read.
Mm-hmm. It is a little easier for sure.
Yeah.
And is this aligned with D21?
Mm-hmm.
Most of it, sorry.
No, but yeah, most.
Yeah, most of it, but we end later than them because they start a lot earlier than us. So if I remember correctly, I believe they're ending on the 6th and we end on the 11th. And also because, sorry, Matt, do you want to chime in? Do you like?
No. You
Okay.
were here last year, and I think it's
Okay.
good to hear.
Okay, so the other thing that we did in I'm not sure if the board was aware of this. So for parent-teacher conferences, we really had a conversation with the union, and Matt and I talked, and it was brought up that instead of having the teachers work full day and do conferences 2 days in a row. The first day of conferences is going to be a 12:30 release. And I've already spoke to Lisa at the bus barn. And then the second day, that Friday of conferences, will be no school for kids and conferences all day. So those 2 days we just had to add on to the end of the school year, which really we're getting out the same week. It's just those last 2 work days were extended out that week. So that's why we get out later than we would have.
The vast majority of the teachers, I've seen this elsewhere too, really like the idea of an all-day conference. I mean, people can access the day than the nighttime.
Yeah, the current way now, the conferences end up being so late in the evening, and so that's a long day.
Yeah, and 2 12-hour days is for anyone is a lot. Dan, you're used to that.
We think it's a pretty solid calendar, but you guys have at it if there's some flaws in it.
We have time. I think we'll make sure that everybody on the board has it, and if there's issues, let's bring it back to next month's meeting.
Okay. We continue to focus on behaviors as one of our school goals. And Jen we've seen just an example. I find it a little bit interesting, sort of an uptick, I'd call it, in inappropriate words that kids are using towards each other, creating a lot of problems. We have to follow school policies and handbooks. And so we're trying to focus on, we'll go into the classrooms, we'll talk to the classroom kids. It's not necessarily, first, second, third grade. It's more the upper grades. So we're working on that. We continually strive to have those assemblies. And of course, we have day-to-day, one student at a time, you might say, educational focus on why you don't say this type of thing. So I just sort of noticed that. And I don't know if it just wasn't happening in the fall. So we keep focusing on those things. Ms. Benninger will have a sort of like a summary projection report next month on academic achievement. We are going to pilot a new data system that we just secured last week. It is, the company's called IXL, and it should really help, but we're going to pilot it first so we don't have to pay the whole, I believe it was $7,000, wasn't it, Jen? So we're looking at $500 for that. Ms. Bindiger also shared that they made $300 at the movie night. So that was impressive. They're going to use that for t-shirts for the kids. We continue to use different systems that's really not critical for me to talk about, but they're all helping, I believe, this staff just to dig down and try to find the most appropriate instructional resources moving forward. We will have a teacher PD next month on this new pilot IXL. And iReady Diagnostics continue to show, and she'll talk about this next month, tremendous success in tracking students where they're at. Business, some of this has been talked about. Dan, Avilia, Jen, and I yesterday interviewed a person, and so we're just processing that a little bit. We are greatly enjoyed, and I plan to, if possible, tomorrow have a quick stand-up meeting at the end of the day to introduce Veronica Smythe, if that's how you pronounce her last name, as a stand-in business manager. She's just doing great. And maybe she could choose to, I already told her today, to answer any questions to the whole group. We are based on the facilities report, which I did email you guys. And I could just highlight this, the new food program has shown incredible. Breakfast is up, I believe she means 8.7%, but the bottom line is lunch and breakfast equates to 477 more meals within 1 month. And they're projecting that to, John is projecting that to keep increasing next month. And as we mentioned a month or two ago, we basically are looking at hiring a probably 0.5 to 6 hour person a day to help with the overall expansion of providing those meals. So we will be looking to do that in the next few weeks. The facilities report is there. If you guys had any questions on it to save time, if you saw the email. One thing I wondered about was number 4. I don't know, does everyone see that email on the facilities that I'm reading off of? I emailed it to you all, but maybe you didn't. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And so just think about this. I've been a little confused. When you read 4, you see what's going to be happening to close the campus. And so we'll be, last sentence, retaining the temporary fencing as we wait for the new quote. And then you guys will need to improve that. I'm probably confused, but it seemed like earlier in the year there was some discussions about whether that section of fencing would be completely financially covered. So we can come back to that later.
I think there's some other issues with the ODOT and the city on access there and the right of way as well. So I think there's a few things that still need to get worked out in that area before that area can be fenced off.
And you can see some of the other things there, how things will change. And of course, these type of changes in a facility, in a campus, they're pretty significant and they've happened pretty rapidly. So I'm sure the new person working with staff, and I'm glad to communicate with that person whenever that happens to help connect communication out to the community to adjust to these different pickup things of that nature. I think a PA system will be incredible, very helpful in the school to have sort of a modern PA system. Garden committee, as you can see, there's been a lot of enthusiasm for that. Great to see in this report from Dawn the reinspection for asbestos passed, and there you go. Any questions? Email me or throw them out right now, and I'll try to get an answer for you.
Thank you.
Jamie, your hand's up, so I'm just making sure you don't have a question.
Sorry, I forgot to take it down.
Oh. Okay. Basically, Miss Crystal Marlin, who was with us in the fall, was an amazing resource. She did send Jen and I a resignation email yesterday, moving with family, different opportunity. And so currently Miss Sandy Brownstein is in that position. We continue to look at ways to go beyond the ESSER revenue that got the pre-K program going and figure out how to make that happen. So we're still looking at different things, and I know there's a discussion behind the scenes on that. That's it on. Any questions at all, though? Or criticisms? I don't care. I get a few from parents occasionally, and you just have to take them and do the best you can.
We have a few action items if you want to try and tick those off the list here. The wellness program policy. Board members, did you see that through an email? It's an update to the policy we currently have. We can either table this as the first reading, which is basically you have access to it and we can approve it at the next meeting, or if anyone Or if we feel like we are ready to approve that, we can approve that today. That'd just be, I'd look for input on that from other members out there. We have recommendations for next year's staff, which is an action item. And then the calendar can be either today or next month. We can approve that.
And the wellness is an ODE required document.
And it's carried on our, we would just submit that as carried on in the policy, the online policy that we have. Any discussion or feedback on any of those things?
And I'm not sure on the wellness policy. I'm not sure if it was just on my end, but the formatting is really funky. So you can't, like, it looked like maybe the opening paragraph sentence got like pulled up into the previous list. And so you can't really read it very clearly.
Okay. We'll look.
I tried to make my way through it, but it's kind of difficult. So I would at least fix that formatting. before it's
Okay.
posted.
It looks good from my end, so I don't know, it might just be a weird fluke.
Yeah, mine looked fine as well.
Okay.
I know that in the past, we've always done the first reading, and I know we have other policies that are pending approval. So I wonder if we should treat this as a first reading, Dan.
I think that's fine, yes.
And then we hopefully will address all the policies at once. What does everyone think?
We can get back with that about that and see where we were in our list of, I think we ticked off the ones that were recommended / required. And there's a whole host of other ones that we can come through and see which ones we want to, if there are the ones that are optional, which ones we adopt, which ones we update, things like that.
But Matt, was there a reason? Did you feel like this one needs to move forward at a quicker pace?
Well, it is, no, I think your suggestion you just had, either way, it's like to do a bulk group of them is definitely the most efficient way to do it. And I'm sure you didn't have time to look through those 6 pages, but either way, OD expects it. And it is a, no pun intended, a healthy thing, because you can have your committee and you can have a lot of different things that people can actually be reading it when they meet in committees and do something with it. So it's really up to you guys. I just want to be sure it was up there, and Don did some great work in it, developing it. I don't know if that answers him or don't.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let me pull up our agenda again. Also, we'll table the wellness until next time. We'll consider it's the first reading. Calendar as well. That brings us to BA, which is the teacher recommendations, Matt.
Yeah. So basically that is a ORS March 15th, which is this Friday, and all the licensed staff, we recommend renewal of those contracts. And doesn't mean Jen and I are done working through observations and valuations. We're not, but at this point in the year, it's always sort of a challenge. Mary Ellen and them it's quite interesting time to, I won't get into it, but it's just sort of a thing that you have to do.
Okay, so by ORS, the board needs to approve the recommendation that we offer or hire back all staff.
Right.
Okay, I'll make a motion that, go ahead.
It doesn't eliminate different things that you might consider based on the school you're in, though. There's all different types of circumstances that impact employment. So
I'll make a motion that the MCS Board of Directors approves the executive director's recommendation to rehire all staff for next year, all teaching staff for next year. Is it all staff or teaching staff?
Licensed.
All licensed staff.
Yeah.
let me clean that up again. I make a motion that the MCS Board of Directors approves the Executive Director's recommendation to rehire all licensed staff for next year. Thank you for the second, Julia. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Marie, do you need that? I know it was on the fly there.
Hey, I kept up this time.
All right. Thank
Thanks
you.
for checking in.
Yeah. Okay. I think that takes care of our action items there that were in your report, Matt. Is there additional topics you want to cover?
Probably, but I can't think of them, Dan. So no, that looks great.
Okay, Jen, we have on there as a line item the assistant principal report as well. Do you have more to add besides the report you already gave?
No, and I am going to continue getting the number of families done.
Okay, thank
Right
you.
now.
Yeah, I
You're
see.
welcome.
I see. Yeah, I see you working on that.
Yeah, you can see.
I bet you 75. I'm gonna bet, Jen, 75 to 85.
Okay.
That'll bring us to item number 11, which is committee reports, which is McKenna and the fundraising. And McKenna has I don't want to jump on your
I'll
way
start
here, McKenna,
with
but
I'll
go
start
ahead.
with the fundraising. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. So we were able to nail down a date for Made for Mosier, which is our biggest fundraiser of the year. It's going to be May 4th, which is a Saturday from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Mosier School. So I'll submit a request to use the property. And with that, I would like to request that we allow alcohol sales for a school-funded event. Would you like me to say that in a motion format?
Will this be outside of the school or inside the school?
We were looking at possibly either doing it at the wagon, have the alcohol sales be at the wagon, or do a tent on school property.
Okay.
Like a beer tent.
We do that every summer already, so it doesn't go. It's not outside the norm. So I think that's mostly an ED approval.
I would just give context. That's it. From experiences, sometimes this can be a topic that people in your community, and I don't know the community well enough. I know one situation once there was a big fundraiser and it was at a adjacent casino, but it was school focused, and it just created a huge uproar. But it sounds like you guys have used the facility before. As long as there were no policies that would counter it, I think it'd be fine.
Great. I'm calling that
McKenna,
an approval.
If you feel like you want a board motion and approval just to cover the bases there, Matt, I'm happy to facilitate that here.
Yeah, I will. I'm deferring to you guys. I probably will, out of curiosity, look at any policies tomorrow just to be sure.
Okay. And we can bring it up at the next meeting if we need to.
Yeah.
To get any other approval. Thank you, McKenna, for bringing that together.
Yeah, the one other request that we would like to add is a large blow up slide for the kid care.
Do we need to carry any additional insurance riders for anything like that?
We do that at the end of the school year.
Okay.
For the celebration. It's pretty common for us to do that.
Cool. All right.
Do they have?
But I don't know if it's I don't know if it's different because it's not during school hours. Because we do it the last day of school. Yeah.
Can we check with Pace and see what the legality of that is, or what
you
we
want
need
to
to
check
do to
on
cover
that
that?
one, Jen? Yeah.
Thank
Jen,
you.
maybe you could check that, and I'll check on another topic.
If you want to give me Pace's number, yeah, tomorrow I can call him and ask.
Okay.
that I wanted to share with you. Some of them are our goals. This fundraiser is to raise money for the playground. We're going to set a goal of $60,000 for this event. And with that, we would need a lot of ticket sales. We're going to ask for $35 a plate or $50 for 2 tickets, and then $25 for kids plate and childcare included. And then we would also ask that as many people as possible can try to set a goal of $1,000 worth of donations, whether that's in goods or in cash, or getting more people to come and buying a ticket. So it's a personal goal of $1,000 for as many people as possible. And I'm happy to send any of the donation information that we would need and want people to fill out, and a spreadsheet so that we aren't asking anybody over and over again for if we've already asked them for a separate donation. So then,
McKenna, do you have the spreadsheet from last year?
yes. So I
So we
just
could chase
set
down the
out
ones
how-
we already
Would you
got
like me
money
to-
from last year.
Yes. Sorry, you mean like how much we made from last year?
No, just the spreadsheet of places we knew donated last year, so we could follow up with those same and then work, that would be a short list that we know these people donated, these businesses donated last year, and then move forward with
Right.
other
I'll send
places
that.
as well.
I have just like a new tab so we can see that nothing's been asked for yet. So for 2024 that we can see. So excellent.
Thank you.
And then another fundraiser that we're looking into, and we haven't unfortunately been able to get very far with it, is going to be a fun run in the spring. And we'll have more information on that next meeting. And then I wanted to move into the enrollment possible campaign. Unless anybody has any more Made for Mosier questions. Great. So what we took from the last couple meetings when we were talking about a paid campaign to increase enrollment, there was, we wanted to try something else first. It sounded like there was some belief that word of mouth is going to be the best strategy. And so wanted to test that theory sooner rather than later. And it's a no cost campaign where we can request that the board approves that we would allow 6 transfer students from each grade to be admitted into MCS now until June 30th for the 2024-2025 school year. This would allow parents who are maybe at a private school, or they've got 2 kids and want both kids to be able to go to the Mosier school, so they're not taking 2 different cars. It would help that planning. So the increase, if we do allow 6 kids, that would increase our enrollment by 36%. Cost would just be to retrain, write a new script for our administration. And we would want to make sure we're informing our current parents that we're allowing these 6 transfer students and making sure that people know these are rare spots, and to do it quickly if they were going to try and enroll, and then update the website and Facebook.
Put it for discussion. Go ahead, Julia.
Hey, McKenna, I really like the idea of trying a word of mouth approach and being a bit more proactive about getting the information out about Mosier School. We'll have a new ED. We have a fabulous teaching crew that hopefully, fingers crossed, vast majority of which are returning next year, that we can really, we have some cool things going on with the facilities, the garden, and the grant, and the new kind of Mosier middle school area, which I actually think has a lot of potential now that it's kind of together. I didn't really have the vision for it initially, but anyway, I think there's a lot to say and a lot to advertise. One thing that gives me pause is this sort of set 6 per grade. The number of students in each grade is pretty uneven, and some of the classes are pretty close to full, and some of the classes have quite a bit of space. So, and we don't know yet how many kids are returning for each grade level, so we don't know kind of what those I don't know that I would commit to a particular number per class. I would just say the spots are limited. You know, get yourself first on the list for any spots that are available after we figure out the total numbers for the kids that are returning. And I think it's a separate conversation with the teachers as far as what total number. I don't remember what was negotiated in their contract, but they're willing to have. I mean, classroom size is a big deal. That changes the dynamic, and I'm sure Mary Ellen would be happy to speak to that too, or Lisa. But I think that's that piece of it I'm a little uncomfortable with, but the rest of it I think is really fabulous.
Cool. So if we changed it to say like a handful of students in each grade level might cover us, keeping it vague, but gives people an actual idea of how many.
Yeah, I would just say, this is getting nitpicky, and this is my lawyer brain, but I would just say there's a limited spots. Because a handful is typically like somewhere around 5, and we may not have 5 in some of these classes might be at capacity. I just don't know that. So I would say there are limited spots, and we encourage you. It's free. They like Mosier's, you know, if you're looking for an alternative spot, we have all these great things, and this is tuition free. And we won't know till our numbers are finalized. And I'm watching 3 Kids solo tonight, so excuse all the background noise.
Do you think that you guys would feel comfortable with me writing up the script and having that kind of set up so that we could then take that and decide to approve it or not for the next meeting?
Yeah, I don't know if the next meeting is too far out. You know, I wonder if it needs to be done prior to that.
Okay.
Another thing to think about too is if this is something that does work. We have different reporting times during the year, and Emily, I see your hand up. I'll get to you real quick here. But for the district and the way they count class sizes, and Jen and Matt can probably weigh in here, but there's a certain time of the year when they count class sizes, and you know, if there's an increase in enrollment before that next class size or enrollment number is counted, then that also affects how much money we either get or owe. Based on our enrollment numbers. So it could have a multiple positives, not only for next year, but for this year as well.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Matt. And then Emily, I'll get right to you after that.
I was just going to simply throw out just the concept. I love the idea. Of course, we'd have to discuss the caps and so forth, but maybe it's more of a goal or a target, like during this open enrollment opportunity, Mosier Community School seeks to increase by 25% or 30% our overall enrollment, and then work backwards and make sure that the class sizes work. Of course, that would be dependent upon the children, though. So,
yeah, and Lisa and Mary Ellen can weigh in on this. I don't believe we actually have set caps. We have ideal numbers in each class that are listed. I have some numbers from Daphne, but we are self-imposing caps on our class sizes.
So my understanding was that there were caps, like 22 to 23 in grades 2 and 3, I think a little lower. So I didn't realize that it was a self-imposed.
It's self-imposed.
And I think since it was asked for us to weigh in, for me, I think you need to also think of the class size and how many bodies you're putting in those rooms, because the rooms aren't really that big for all the things that you're trying to accomplish in that classroom. So that's my one point right there. Is that just, I would ask that you consider the size of the classrooms. And when it's multi-age and mixed ages, to look at those grades as opposed to how many kids you're putting in a class. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Emily, you've been patient there. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I just needed a little bit. I just want to make sure I was understanding. So, previously when we were talking about this, we were not wanting to, we were wanting to, you know, present that there's space at Mosier Community School. So, we wanted to encourage folks to come, but now we're kind of shifting the framing to like, these are rare positions. And so I'm like feeling a disconnect and not quite.
Just for transfers. So what we're saying is that this is for, say, your Hood River, or say your So if they're in Mosier and they're applying, they wouldn't fit into this category of transfer, right? That would just be a Mosier student joining the school.
Okay, so we're specifically,
Emily.
yeah.
I think you're responding to my frame. Mine's trying to like reframe. I just don't think that we can promise 6 kids that they could get into 2nd grade. I don't know what the numbers are, but my recollection of them is that we have a lot of space in the school overall, but it's not even where that space is. So just having an exact number for each grade that's the same for every grade is not actually the reality of what's going on inside the school. So we don't want, our ideal is not having 6 for each age. We couldn't take 6 in pre-K. I know we're not talking pre-K, but I'll use that as an example that everybody understands. Pre-K is full, it's got 10. But the middle school, there might be a grade there that could take actually 10 kids. So I think that we just have to be careful about having a goal of getting the exact same number of kids per grade, because that's not actually the goal. The goal is to fill the school, and to let people know that there are some spaces, and we would love we can't tell you exactly what those spaces are, but we would love for you to come and approach the school, and we'll let you know if there's room for you. And I think framing it as like, not like, in my own opinion, people tend to be more attracted to, there's just a few spots and I want one of those spots, then like we have 30% of the school that's empty and we would welcome you. So that was why I was like, tell people like, there's space right now. This is kind of a rare thing that Mosier School has space, but we have space at the moment. So this is a good time. If you've been thinking about the school, come check it out. Come see if there's, if this is a good fit for you and if there's room for your kid in that particular grade. And I just think that's the piece of it that we can't promise to somebody that's new. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So like, this is different than just open enrollment period. This is like pre-open enrollment period. We'll put on Facebook, hey, if you want your kid to go to Mosier School, reach out to us now and we can get them on the open enrollment list. So it's just we're just marketing that folks can come to Mosier School.
Yeah, if I can jump in. Yeah, Emily, I think the distinction which might be helpful is that there's in-district kids and out-of-district kids. So from what I understand, McKenna's hoping to attract or let folks that are out of district know that, because I believe the school is able to accommodate a certain number of out of district kids. So that said, we know that the middle school enrollment is the lowest. And I wonder if, we should focus on getting more out of district kids to fill the middle school. The other bit is, I think if we're going to be, I've been thinking a lot about this, campaign, and I think we really need to let folks know that Mosier School is a school where parents can be involved and that the school really appreciates parent involvement and help, and that volunteer hours are really, super important and vital to the school. So I just want to, I guess, express that I hope we make it clear that, this school really depends upon parent involvement. And hopefully there are families out there that are attracted to that. So.
Quick comment, and that is the verbiage for current recruitment. I think that proceeds. I mean, you guys can do both these things together. They're somewhat independent, but I think you can accomplish all of it. It's just a matter of working out the details.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about word of mouth. We're going to give talking points, but everyone else is going to fill in their own details. I mean, we're going to say, here are the nuggets we want people to spread. And somebody else will bring up the volunteer. Somebody else will say, don't forget it's free, and somebody else we just want the buzz. And we want to make sure it's clear that they can come and should come.
And so that's awesome. And McKenna, are we doing the word of mouth or is it just at the office?
Yep, we're gonna do it. We're all gonna update the Facebook page, and the first we would do the website. And so I'm totally happy with writing just a few spaces, and then it's vague enough for us to fill where we needed. And of course, if there are additional kids that put in their application, they'll be on the wait list. But basically, they're not in line until they have their application in.
And I think, and I know you guys probably did talk about this. So when families do call now and open enrollment hasn't started, so they're being told, yeah, I'll put you on the wait list. But I feel like we know which grades are not full this year. So if parents call for a grade where there's space, because I know current students always get first choice, but if we know the grade isn't full and parents call now, I feel like they should be told to come in, fill out the forms for next year now, so that we just have those, they know they have a space, instead of saying, I'll put you on the wait list. Because I think you guys discussed this last time. It's sending the wrong message that we're full and there's a wait list.
Thankfully, Emily sent out a note. You might not have been on it, Jen, but discussing that exact talking point to provide to the staff. So
Yeah, we're working on it. Because you don't want to have someone who's in line based on living here, someone jumps in front of them. I mean, it is something you have to sort of work through and make sure that everything is explained accurately.
Yeah, but I mean, if we already know that next year, yeah, okay. And Matt and I can also.
Yeah, we've had ideas about the whole, Jen and I have talked about the whole sort of reconfiguration. But this, all I would say is what you're doing right now, actually action steps, a year from now, you'll be glad that you're trying to achieve this type of financial. It's a great idea.
In addition to a Facebook post, what about making a small poster, just like a flyer? And Leah made that poster for Mosier last year. That was so amazing. I don't know if we have graphic art skills somewhere, but I don't know. Maybe I'm really old school, but I find the sort of the poster boards at all of the coffee shops in both the Dalles and Hood River really to be like rich sources of information. Brenna's Market. So a really basic poster would also be great. Like enrolling now, tuition free. A few, if we have space at the moment, come talk to us.
Yeah, I like that.
I think also the fact that, if you look either direction, east or west, both those places have huge middle schools, and we have a small middle school. So that's a bonus that I think some people aren't aware of, that they have that option. So, a kid can get lost in such a huge school.
Absolutely. And if they don't know the opportunity is there, Dan, then they don't know.
Thanks, McKenna, for all your hard work on this.
Pleasure. Okay, so do we need any sort of action item for that, or do we need to just, so everyone seems like they're in on me creating something using everything we just discussed, and I can send it via email for final approval, or would we have to have a special meeting, or can we just make it happen based on?
I think we can designate a couple people to work on it in this meeting here, and then it can be taken, so who wants to be a part of that process? McKenna's already on board, obviously. Julia, I like
McKenna. Yeah,
that'd be great. I'm happy to be involved too, but I don't want to take someone else's spot.
So this will be like crafting kind of our talking points that we can use, and maybe a flyer.
Right. And then just making sure that we're spreading that.
Yep. Okay.
Correctly.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
And
I'll
Dan,
make a
the
motion.
motion.
Go ahead, Matt.
Dan, you mentioned the timing, both you and McKenna, is pretty critical on the
Right.
open enrollment, on getting the info out.
Yeah, we're already late, I think, in general. As far as our enrollment, I feel like that's something we need to look at for next year as well, is when do we schedule our enrollment? We might want to bump that forward a little bit to align with other places so that people have options there. All right, well, I'll make a motion then that McKenna, Julia, and myself work on this no-cost campaign together and put something out over whatever media is found to be useful.
And
Can I
let
get a
us
second?
know how we can help.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, but just to clarify, like you all are drafting some stuff that we're all going to use for word
We're
of
all
mouth.
gonna use it, yeah, but
Okay.
you know, it'll just be a small team of people just that get it done and then
Point.
send it out. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Any more discussion or questions for McKenna on this? All right. That brings us to the end of our meeting. It's 7:15. Thank you all for your time tonight.
Okay.
Bye, folks.
care.
Take care, everyone.
Good work.